Boom, boom. Oh, did my thing get delivered? I don't like that they don't even ring the doorbell anymore. Okay, so when you get an Amazon package delivered, do they ring your doorbell?
Never.
They never ring my doorbell.
Nope, they never ring the doorbell. They don't even knock. They just put it there, but then I get the notification actually on my watch from the Amazon app with the picture of the door, like, we've delivered your stuff.
Ooh, I should turn notifications on my watch for Amazon.
Yeah, except right now it's kind of weird because they're doing all their little Prime Day junk, so you get a bunch of kind of ads. But hopefully that'll be over like this week or whenever Prime Day's over.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, the notification actually includes the picture, which is cool.
That's cool. The way I know that it happens is my Echoes go boodoom, which means I have a new notification on them.
Oh yeah, which could be anything.
And is literally the doorbell. Like it happens so fast after they drop it off. The truck is still out there, but it's, I don't know. I get a little up. Just ring the doorbell. How hard is it? Welcome to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Jason.
And I'm Chris. This is episode 52.
Running up to this past weekend, or whenever E3 was, I have to say I didn't even know it was happening.
I was vaguely aware that it was E3 season-ish, and I think I looked it up the week before just to be like, when is E3? And I found out, I was like, oh, hey, it's next week. Cool. So then I knew that it was generally happening, but I also forgot the schedule. So it didn't really do me much good.
I was almost blindsided. I was just like, oh man, E3. Oh, I guess that's still a thing, huh?
Yeah, they're still doing it. This year was all digital. They did not have any physical event to it, which is how I feel like I experienced last year. Although people say that E3 2020 didn't happen at all, but I still feel like, which is true, but I still feel like there was the same level of announcements and stuff coming out in the June 2020 timeframe. Kind of. I guess they pushed it all to the summer, late summer, but I don't know. I didn't feel like it was that big of a difference between 2020 and 2021.
Well, that's a great point, though. And that's kind of why I thought that E3 was kind of dying, was these companies, there was big news about all these companies pulling out and saying that they'd probably never go back or whatever. And they all kind of did their own individual live streams or announcements or, I think of it almost as like an Apple keynote, but for each game company, right? And that's kind of what I remember from last year. And I don't know what I prefer. I don't know which I like better.
Well, I didn't experience this one as any different because I typically for E3 will just watch the keynotes for whatever platforms I'm interested in. So usually that's skimming the Microsoft keynote. When Sony used to have a keynote, I would watch their keynote kind of end to end, and then paying some attention to the Nintendo keynote, and then maybe Bethesda, one other thing. Not really Ubisoft much, but more so Bethesda. And they were doing that all in a hall, in a theater with a stage and people and all of that. And there was a whole bunch of random spectacle to the whole thing. I don't know if you paid too much attention to previous E3 press conferences, but they had Keanu Reeves in person for Cyberpunk announcement in E3 2019, and it was just is this necessary? What is this adding? You're not telling me anything more about these games. You're just Keanu Reeves in front of a crowd. So I'm kind of glad that they've gotten away from some of that.
We've got a meme out of it, Chris. Aren't you happy about that?
No, because I don't think that meme is that good.
I'm just surprised that these companies, we have the technology now to broadcast these big events online. And that's typically where the industry of gaming is, right? And people are very well connected in this industry. And I'm surprised that these companies are deciding to share the light, to share the event, to share the news cycle with other companies when they could have the opportunity. You said Sony's not at E3 anymore, and I'm not surprised, right? They want their own event. I'm not surprised that this is this is one of the things that they've decided to be like on their own about. And I'm honestly surprised other companies haven't, Microsoft, like they could do a huge event without anyone else. And the whole, gaming industry would be eyes focused just on them, for, a weekend or a day or whatever. I feel like E3, particularly in its like physical form, really doesn't serve any purpose anymore. But even as a, everyone all in one weekend or all in a few days kind of thing, I'm surprised the companies are still participating, or at least they're still participating in as their main mechanism to announce new things.
I would offer a counterpoint in that it's kind of fun to have all of the announcements coming out in the same week, because then you have the weird little horse race of like who won E3, and it doesn't matter at all, but they are able to kind of compare and contrast, and you can say, oh yeah, Microsoft made this really big Halo Infinite announcement, or Sony made this really big God of War announcement, and like you can kind of compare these things, and you get a little bit of this like artificial competition. And not like flame wars consoles, this one's better than that kind of a thing, but just like some friendly competition. And if that stuff all happens in the same kind of time frame, then the conversation is all happening at the same time. I would propose, to your point around why are they sharing the spotlight, I would propose that you would have the E3 event to give the overview of all of the things that you have coming out until next E3, right? Thinking from like June to June. And then in like August or so, do individual platform, spaced out by a week, a Microsoft showcase, a Sony showcase, a Nintendo showcase, a whoever showcase, like do deep dives, do your 10 or 15 minute gameplay demos, do your interviews with your, game designers or whatever, do your big, like, here's what the revolutionary, whatever behind the scenes of the next Uncharted is, go through and give your deep dive when you have the time, and then use E3 as your quick hits of like, oh, let's help people like make a list of like what all the things that they think they want to do for the next year. Like, let's get kids thinking about what they want to put on their Christmas list, like that kind of thing. I think that E3 still has, well, E3 had that magic to it, but now it's losing it a little bit in that more things are pushing past the current year.
Yeah, I would say, like, I think I'm a little jaded on all of, like, the date announcements a little bit. Like, we're going to talk about later in the show, like, we're going to talk about some of the announcements that we were excited for. But, like, I don't trust any of the dates that I see anymore. I just don't trust them. So I don't really mind things being so far out. Obviously I get excited. I get more excited for things that are like closer. But there's a lot of stuff slated for the, fourth quarter this year that is on our list. And I don't believe any of it. I really don't know. I don't know what to trust and what to say. Oh, that's going to get pushed.
I think that when things come out closer to when they get announced, they have a much better reception. Because if you look at something like Cyberpunk, where it was like really built up for like 5 years, and then it came out and it was, granted, Cyberpunk had its own issues, regardless of how long it had since announcement. But when they spend, 3-4 years announcing a game, like Halo Infinite has a huge like weight of expectation coming to it when it theoretically comes out, this year, this holiday. So like when you announce something in June and it comes out in November, you're like, okay, great. Like maybe it's been in development for 6 years and fine. But I haven't been getting little teaser trailers every year for the past 5 years saying like, oh, Halo Infinite is coming. Oh, it's going to be great. Oh, build up the story. It's going to be amazing. Like finally finish Master Chief Saga. I don't know. I really don't follow Halo and I don't particularly like Halo, but it when you have this much time to build it up, then there is so much expectation on it that there's such a big room to fail, I would say, in a lot of the lead up and the announcement stuff.
I kind of feel that for the one that I'm following, that they did some stuff this E3 for that has the long lead time is Starfield. I feel like the expectations for Starfield are enormous.
I have not been following Starfield hardly at all, other than that I've heard that it's a thing. I know that it's coming from Bethesda, and it's an RPG, I assume, from the makers of Fallout, right? And Skyrim. And I really like Fallout. I didn't really play Skyrim. But if it's more stuff from these people in a world that is more interesting to me, like sci-fi will be more interesting to me than high fantasy, like Skyrim, then I am all for it. And I'm purposely not really paying a whole bunch of attention. I did watch the trailer from this E3, but it didn't tell you anything about what the gameplay is. It didn't hardly tell you anything about the story. But that is something where I look at that and I'm like, ooh, that universe looks really interesting, which I probably would have said the same thing about Cyberpunk. So buyer beware, I guess.
I heard one quote about Starfield that it's a Han Solo simulator.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too.
I thought that was kind of cool. But the reason I bring it up is they announced a release date of November 11th, 2022. And I'm just like, okay, next.
Right. Why even tell me about this? Because it's going to be so far away.
And there was no gameplay to show. And, you know, the list, I don't know. I guess I kind of agree. Like, don't show the stuff that's not going to be out soon. So,
yeah, I would say either don't show the stuff or show it once and don't show it every year. Like, I don't know. Like, if I wanted to know, like, what is Naughty Dog up to, right? They finished Last of Us Part 2. If they told me, you know, here's a little teaser trailer for whatever, and it's coming out, they didn't even say when it was coming out, right? They just said, like, here's Uncharted 5. And you'd be like, okay, great. Now I know somebody's working on Uncharted 5. I have no idea when it's going to come out. I don't have any expectations for really what it's going to be, but I know that there's more Uncharted coming whenever it comes, and that's great. Once you set a date, then there's so much expectation, and then the dates slip, and then it's just, you know, a disappointment.
It's almost like the Marvel movie at like the end of like the Spider-Man movie, like Spider-Man will return.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. That's all we wanted to know. There will be more movies.
Yeah, I mean, and if you want to do a 10-second render in your new engine for PS5 to show me that, you know, you can see each individual blade of stubble on Nathan Drake's face now, like, that's fine. Show me that, you know, have him say something, but like, you don't have to build it up a whole bunch. You can just be like, hey, we're working on more Uncharted.
Now, this coming from two guys that are not marketing majors in any way, shape, or form, like no marketing experience. So I have a feeling that they are not making these choices without some research and knowledge. But I from my perspective, I kind of agree. Like, show me the stuff that I can get excited about and won't pre-order, but it will take everything I have not to pre-order because it's so soon.
From there, I think we could move into our discussion of our top 3 games of the show. So we limited our list to kind of top 3. And I'm going to say we should maybe limit to things that are actually coming out this year based on our previous conversation.
Yeah, I'm down for that because all of mine come out this year.
Well, mine too, although I put a couple honorable mentions on there that are in 2022.
Well, maybe let's start real quick with those honorable mentions. What did Sony announce that you're so excited about?
Sony didn't announce anything because they didn't do anything for E3, but that's okay. I'm not mad.
They have an event coming up though, right? They have some kind of like press event in a few weeks, I think, maybe.
Oh, maybe I missed that.
I think they have something coming up. I also did hear some rumors that just came out today. We're recording on Saturday. Before the show is released. I did hear some rumors today about a new registered trademark, PSX, like an actual conference.
Oh, they've had the PSX conference before. They've that used to be a thing that they would do as like an event, but I don't think Sony ran it.
Yeah, I think they either re-registered the trademark or something. It's making news again, so it sounds like it may be coming back.
Yeah, well, that would be cool. I mean, I have no real desire to go to any of that stuff, but I'm glad that it's coming.
We talked about Starfield already. I think Starfield will be interesting. I traditionally had not played games by Bethesda, but I'm interested in the news of that. The other one for 2022, and again, I'll believe it when I see it, is the Avatar game.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic for this Avatar thing. Like, they put out a trailer, it looks very pretty. I'm very concerned that it will turn into an Anthem situation where it's just not good. Like, like it has a good concept, it has a couple of good mechanics, and then just like the game and the story and the everything is just kind of bleh. And that's a technical term, bleh.
Yeah, it is an Ubisoft game though, which, you know, like if it's as good as an Assassin's Creed game, fine, that's good enough.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I have Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I really haven't played it. I tried to play Assassin's Creed, I forget which one. I think it was the Egypt one, Origins, when it was free on Ubisoft one weekend. And I don't know. I guess I don't get into Assassin's Creed games much. Maybe I just don't like Ubisoft games. I don't know. But this one, I like the franchise, the IP. You know, it can be very pretty as a game. I'm just concerned that they're not going to be able to follow through on story or on some part of it is just not going to be as good. But I will keep an eye on it, and I will keep a close eye on the reviews. That is definitely not a pre-order game for me.
Our actual top 3 lists are not that different. I think we have 2 that are exactly the same, and then our third one is kind of different. So yeah, maybe let's talk through the 2 that are the same. I think the one that no one will be surprised about, that is on my like almost first that I put down. And when it was announced, I think Chris and I were sitting in the car together because we've seen each other recently. We were watching the Microsoft conference, and it was like the first 3 frames, and I was just like, this looks like Forza Horizon 5, excuse me.
Yes, could be very specific.
And I turned out to be right, and I was very excited. And then, the release date of November 2021, that's a little later than I wanted, but like, I'm okay with that. That's kind of cool.
When you say a little later than you wanted, you mean like you would have rather have been September 2021, right? Not like tomorrow.
Or, June, 20th, 2021.
Oh, sure. Because they're just going to announce it one week and then...
Yeah, why can't they do the Apple thing where they're just like, hey, and it's on sale now?
There's actually... Nintendo does that. Nintendo announced one of their games, and I don't remember which one it was, but it was like... Was it this? It was the Switch. It was the Switch hardware. They announced the Switch hardware in like February, and they said it's going on sale in March or January and March or something. It was like very quick when they announced it to when it happened, which was cool. Like those kinds of like surprise things are pretty neat. So yeah, you're right. They should or could do more of that kind of stuff.
And it's not like they have physical hardware to produce for games anymore. Like they could do that, and there could be a run on the store, and they could sell every single copy. And because they announce it so close to when it actually comes out, I feel like there will be a lot more like impulse purchases being made. Yeah,
a lot more hype, a lot more. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it might work. I think it's maybe something they should try, but I get it. November of this year is not too bad. I will be, I think it's included with Xbox Game Pass. That was another thing about this conference, about the Microsoft conference in general, is like everything is on Xbox Game Pass now, which for me is super exciting. And I've seen a lot of memes and a lot of cartoons and a lot of like very funny things about like Xbox Game Pass just being like the only subscription service you'll ever need for games. But yeah, I'm good with that. And I'm glad I don't have to buy this game because it'll be on Xbox Game Pass for PC.
Yeah, I canceled my Xbox Game Pass when I realized that the only 2 games that I wanted to play was Sea of Thieves and Forza Horizon 4. And so I purchased both of those and then just canceled my subscription in the short term with the full understanding that I will be going back and resubscribing, especially when things like this come out, because they announced a ton of games, including actually Starfield that you just mentioned, coming to Game Pass, I believe. So like they're taking all of the Microsoft games and they're just, yeah, everything is day one Game Pass. There's a bunch of other games that I was actually keeping an eye on whose names are eluding me at the moment. One of them was Back 4 Blood, the Left 4 Dead kind of successor, and that was going to be a day one Game Pass. Although I don't know if it was going to be Game Pass PC or Game Pass console only. But they've really knocked it out of the park with these Game Pass games.
That is the one thing I'm a little worried about is Game Pass, because they did this with Outriders, where it was day one Game Pass for consoles, but not for PC. And I hope that is not a trend. I hope that is not something that they continue. It should all be one service. They should try to simplify it as much as possible, in my opinion.
I wonder if you could get around that by getting the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and then using the xCloud streaming thing to stream to your PC and like pretending like it was a console.
Oh, if you had an Xbox, maybe.
Well, I don't know. Do you have to have an Xbox?
I don't know.
That was one of the headlines that I did see, was that Microsoft is upgrading all of their cloud gaming computers to be Xbox Series X's instead of Xbox Ones. So you'll be able to get higher resolution, better Xbox Series X games and stream them to your Xbox One console if you have one, which is kind of cool.
Forza Horizon 5 takes place in Mexico, which is kind of cool. They had some marketing speak on like it being the most diverse like landscape and biomes and all that. I'm interested to see what the quirk will be. Chris and I kind of talked about this over the weekend and said, Forza Horizon 4 had the seasons, winter, summer, fall, spring, and there's always kind of some kind of quirk with each Forza Horizon. I'm wondering what this one will be, because obviously like Mexico near the equator doesn't really have seasons. So it will be something different, I assume. And I'm interested to see what that is.
Well, Mexico, I mean, seasons, sure, but they also have mountains. So you can have like not really seasons in terms of snow in the whole country, but you could have a biome that is more like a snow-capped mountain and then go down to the beach, from there. That was something that they had said, was that they were doing kind of localized weather, so they could have like, it might be raining in one corner of the map and then it might not be raining somewhere else. So you could actually drive out of the rain, which is a nice thing, because coming from Forza Horizon 4, the rain is kind of not fun to drive in.
Yeah. But Forza Horizon 4, it was kind of the same landscape almost everywhere. So that what they did is every week actually rotates the weather. So right now, like currently, like as of this moment of recording in the game, if you were to log in, it's winter. So all of the roads are snowy and icy and all of that. And next it will be spring, which is kind of cool. It keeps the game kind of fresh every now and then. But, if you wanted to kind of get out of that, the only way to do that, as far as I know, is to wait until it's springtime.
You may be able to play like an offline version, but I don't think so. The other thing about Forza that's really good, Forza Horizon specifically, that's really good, is that it's a nice like arcade driving simulator. Like you do these little events and you can party up with people and you can just drive around the city. Like it's very similar to like Burnout Paradise, which is another great kind of arcade driving game where you do all sorts of crazy stuff. And in Burnout, of course, you can do destruction and all that, which is not really what Forza is about. But being able to party up and be like, yeah, let's drive around. Oh, let's do an event. Like, oh, let's do a race together. Like we can play against all the AIs. Like that's a really fun game dynamic. So I'm really looking forward to this, especially coming to Game Pass. And I'll just, resub and we can play it and see if we like it and see if it sticks. And maybe I'll end up buying that one too, or maybe I'll just keep my Game Pass.
Speaking of games I won't have to pay for, because I already subscribed to the service that they come out on. Good thing I have EA Play Pro, because they announced Battlefield 2042. And I'm very specific about that because when they first announced this game, I thought it was a remake of 2142, but it is not. It is 2042, which is like slightly futuristic. But I know you don't play Battlefield games, but I haven't really liked the path Battlefield has been on with Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5. But Battlefield 2142 and Battlefield 4 were so good. And I'm really excited for Battlefield 2042. And they have, I want to say that they've embraced the meme. They've made the way people play Battlefield more like ingrained in how Battlefield actually like is advertised and like, how the point structure works of playing the game. And it's just, I mean, the trailer was ridiculous, but it's actually what happens inside the game. So I'm really excited for 2042. Comes out in October, and I'm hoping to get I don't know if you may not have EA Play Pro by then, but eventually it will come out to EA Play, and I'm hoping that we'll get a chance to play a little bit.
I actually had a Battlefield 2142 mouse, going back to our previous episode about peripherals, that I got on a super deep discount after kind of the game had passed its prime. It was like a bundle that came with the game and a Logitech something mouse, gaming mouse that had like a mech on it, like where you put your hand. And I think I played the game like once and I was just very confused, but that was also a long time ago. So I'm willing to give this one a shot. I mean, I'm not very good at first person shooters. I don't particularly enjoy them if they're not like super class based, but I'll give it a try.
I like the Battlefield series. They haven't been trending this way, but generally they're a little bit slower, and they're a little bit more team based than the Call of Duty series, which is why I kind of like them. Like you're actually rewarded for playing as a squad. You're actually, it gives you a little bit time to think and strategize rather than just, be the best gunner out there. Which I like. I think that's important for me because I'm not the best first person shooter either, but I think the should we be in a vehicle, which point should we go after and capture? How do we swing around and not like come straight in the front door? The maps are big enough, the teams are big enough, that those decisions actually matter. And I kind of like that. That's what draws me to the Battlefield series.
Didn't they say that this one is going to have like 1,000 people in a game or something?
Not quite. 128 versus 128.
Oh my gosh.
Which is just crazy. That's so cool. I will say I'm not a huge fan of the vehicles and the planes and all that. The Battlefield, like my favorite kind of Battlefield games are the ones that are like 28 versus 28, infantry only, because all of that decision making still matters, but you get to remove a few variables like tanks and helicopters and all that. So, I prefer those a little bit just because I think they're a little easier for me to like actually make tactical decisions because I don't have to consider like a tank rolling up on us. It also limits the number of classes that you have to bring with you to be successful, right? If there's no tanks, you don't need any anti-tank, anything. And I kind of like, I like those little smaller games, but the big ones are still fun, especially when you get into a vehicle yourself, and you're not, you just kind of get to roll around and not have to worry about anything. It's fun. It's a fun game. And I'm glad that they are not doing another historical game. That was like the key point of all of this for me was that like, I don't want another World War I, World War II, Vietnam, whatever war. I want either a modern one or 2142 was so good. It was just like, because they're building a story about the future and like why people are in conflict. And 2042 does a decent job at that, but it also like gives you some cool technology that you can use on the battlefield. But also it's only 20 years in the future, right? It's only 21 years in the future. And so it's not quite too far out there. And I think it was a good balance of like futuristic, but also kind of grounded. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely, I get it with EA Play Pro. I'm definitely going to play it. And it was one of the more exciting trailers of E3, in my opinion.
I actually didn't watch the trailer for that one. I just saw the headline about 128 versus 128 and thought, oh my gosh, that's going to be so chaotic.
I don't think so. I mean, the maps are huge. So it's a lot of people, but the maps are so big that's why you have 128 people on a team, is because you're controlling a vast amount of land. And, there might be 10 or 12 capture points on the map.
How do you think they're going to like handle control, like not control, but like leadership in that kind of a giant thing? Like, are you just going to have to be in a Discord with people? Like, are they going to have to make the voice chat in game good? Like, is there like, do you set up a chat wheel so that you can give instructions to people? Like, how do you keep track of who's doing what when you have 100 people on your team?
Yeah, it depends on how good people are at actually following orders.
Okay, so bad. Got it.
Well, Battlefield traditionally has had a commander role, or in a lot of the games that they've released, there's been a commander role, which is one person either in the game or not in the game that is kind of this that plays this asymmetrical game where they see kind of the map and they can command squads to take or certain objectives or go after certain objectives. They control some of the benefits on the field, and you get bonus points for actually following orders. So they're encouraging you know, they're slightly encouraging you to actually like follow what the commander is telling you. So there is someone kind of grand planning the battle, which is kind of cool. But I think the more serious players definitely will be in a Discord, and follow, you know, really like tactical kind of movements and patterns and defenses and all of that. There's another game out called Squad that's really good at this. But they do it all within the game. It's all, you know, voice in the game. But very similar idea. Commanders, squad leaders, people within those squads that are kind of following. Chain of command kind of exists in the game that you just kind of adopt when you get into a new game. And it's fun. I think it's fun, like coordinating massive efforts like that. I think that's, if it works and people are not like, you know, Rambo, you know, not every single person thinks they're Rambo. It's actually really fun to win a game like that in a very team oriented, you know, manner. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm hoping that they err that way a little bit, that they, you know, lean that way a little bit in the team based game, rather than, you know, the more Call of Duty run and gun all on your own. You can win the whole game by yourself kind of thing. Because I think those are more fun. And I think that's what Battlefield traditionally has been good at.
My other unique pick is a completely different take from Battlefield in that I'm actually following the Guardians of the Galaxy game that I think Square Enix put out and made by Eidos, who I believe used to do the Tomb Raider games. They showed a lot of choices that you can make, and they showed a lot of like dialogue and interaction between the characters, which I think is really cool, especially for a group like Guardians of the Galaxy, where a lot of that is like quips and, you know, making all of the different jokes and things, and you have to pay attention to the dialogue and all this stuff. One of the ones that they had was like, oh yeah, which character are we going to choose as a monster to sell? Is it going to be Groot or is it going to be Rocket? And you had all these clever little things as you were playing as Peter Quill, Star-Lord. And I thought that stuff was really fun to like be able to choose. And both of them were funny. Like both of the options were kind of humorous. So I think that's going to be a really cool game if they can pull it off. You know, Avengers did not really instill confidence in kind of superhero games, but I still haven't played that game. I still haven't played Avengers. It's down to $40 now, like new. I keep getting these ads that say like new, lower price. I'm like, oh dear. But I still haven't played it. I kind of want to, but I kind of don't.
This is a different game though than Avengers, right? Like it's not being billed as the same kind of game, right? Or is it?
No, it's a totally different game. It's a completely different developer, completely different. Well, not completely different. It's still the same like parent company, I believe, with the license, but it's a totally different dev team. And yes, it's being built as a totally different thing. I think it's actually single player only. It's not a games as a service game. It is something that has a, you know, beginning, middle, and end of story. So it's going to be a much different feel. And that's why it kind of draws me more. One thing I can't hardly get over, though, is the characters are all similar to Avengers, right? They're not the MCU characters. They're characters based on the comic books or based on a different take on the same people. And so, like, Drax does not look anything like Dave Bautista, and that's fine, but also kind of jarring. Like, you're like, wait, who is this like gray and red dude that like has these like red shoulders or blue shoulders? I forget exactly, but he does not look like he does in the movies, and that's a little bit off-putting. Gamora still has green skin, and Rocket's still a raccoon, and, you know, Star-Lord still has a jacket, and his jacket actually says Star-Lord on it in case you forget who he is. But like I think that, you know, Drax was actually a very like, and especially his voice is different too, and that's all just weird. So I don't know if I'll be able to get over that. I'm sure I will, but the Guardians of the Galaxy story and the universe is kind of an off the wall choice, and I don't know anything about it from the comics, and I don't really know anything about it from any cartoons or TV shows other than what's in the MCU. So I'm pretty excited to kind of see what they do with that in a video game.
Where does this take place on the timeline?
That's a good question. I don't know. I should find out.
Is there any clue as to what the story is? Is it like a heist? Is it something bigger, smaller? Like, have they given any clues to the story?
The quote that I found is, somehow you set off a chain of catastrophic events leading to a wild ride through mind-blowing worlds inhabited by iconic and original Marvel characters. Turn up the All-Star 80s mixtape and get ready to kick it. So it doesn't really tell you much.
All right. It almost reminds me of like Ragnarok, like Thor Ragnarok, where they're just like spit out onto random worlds.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how Guardians of the Galaxy are, right? They're just like, oh yeah, we have to go to insert planet name here. And then they show up at insert planet name here. And then they do their thing. Like, they can really just pick, because they're the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? They don't have to root themselves in like Earth geography or like anything that looks like what you would expect. So they have a ton of freedom while still staying technically in the universe.
This sounds like, in my head right now, I'm imagining, and I know you haven't played this game, but I'm imagining a like Guardians of the Galaxy comedy Mass Effect.
Yeah, actually, I heard that. I was listening to an E3 roundup, and somebody said that this felt like a Mass Effect kind of game, like because you had dialogue choices and because you had, you know, it wasn't taking itself too seriously. That like they're like, Mass Effect really gets in its own head and like takes itself very seriously, but this doesn't seem like it's going to do that. And I was like, yeah, that sounds perfect. Like that sounds like something, you know, that I would really enjoy.
Yeah, it's a good balance.
That one comes out October 26th of this year, or at least that's what it's on the calendar right now. So that should be really fun. I think it's going to be on PS5. I'll probably play it on PS5.
Is it on PC? Because I have not been one of the lucky ones that have been graced with a PS5 yet.
Have you been trying?
No, not even a little bit.
So then you don't get to complain. Guardians of the Galaxy is coming out on PS5, PS4, PC, Xbox Series X, and Xbox One. So basically all the consoles.
Great.
So you'll be able to play it on PC if you want to.
That's probably where I'll get it. You've kind of convinced me. I'm actually kind of interested now. It was the comparison to Mass Effect that got me.
I knew that would get you interested.
The last one on our list was a surprise for me. Like I did not see this coming.
Yeah, no, it came out of nowhere. So we're watching this trailer, and there's a whole bunch of stuff, and it's obviously Sea of Thieves. We'll start with that, right? It's obviously a Sea of Thieves trailer, and you know you're watching this, and like you start to see some stuff, and you're like, wow, that looks really close to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, and then they started playing the Yo-Ho, Yo-Ho, Pirate's Life for Me, like just like, you know, a jingle in the background, and you're like, wait a second. Like, I know that's like a standard tune, but it is so closely associated with Pirates of the Caribbean that I can't not think of the movie while hearing this and seeing what's on screen right now. But they hadn't revealed anything yet.
Yeah, I guess I also kind of in the moment thought like, oh, they're just going to add that as a shanty. Like you can play it. That's kind of neat. I wonder if they are allowed to do that. And then it keeps going. The trailer keeps going, and you start to see more and more people that are kind of look like they're ripoffs of Pirates of the Caribbean people. And like,
yeah, I think we were sitting in the car watching this, and I like said out loud, that is so obviously a ripoff of Pirates of the Caribbean. I said it out loud because I hadn't realized yet that it is an obvious ripoff of Pirates of the Caribbean, because it's not a ripoff at all.
Yeah, when Jack Sparrow showed up, that's when I knew that it was legit. When he said his name was Jack Sparrow, because I figured they were going to be like, oh, this is John Robin, not Jack Sparrow. But like, no, it's actually Jack Sparrow.
Sea of Thieves announced a free, I don't want to call it expansion, but a free new content added to the game that is all Pirates of the Caribbean themed. The Black Pearl, Davy Jones, Jack Sparrow. And you looked up some details on what it actually entails, right?
Yeah, it has 5 Tall Tales that are coming. And for those that don't know, the Tall Tales are kind of like the story content, or like the player versus environment PvE side of Sea of Thieves. And one of the big things about this one is that they said that you can actually do these Tall Tales for Sea of Thieves, Pirates of the Caribbean, as an independent party. So like your ship, your group, I don't know, they'll go through some portal or something will happen, and you'll basically no longer be on the big map, and you'll be doing your own thing as far as the story content goes, which means that nobody can come and interrupt you while you're doing the story stuff, which I think is great.
I mean, it kind of removes an element of Pirates of Sea of Thieves, but fine. I mean, for this story content that I want to consume solely for the story content, fine, I'll give it to you.
No, I think that Sea of Thieves, and this may stray a little bit into, some ranting about Sea of Thieves, but I think that if I am doing a Tall Tale that is a story like beat, right? If I'm doing something that's one of, say, the dozen Tall Tales that they have that follows the story, for the overall Sea of Thieves, I would like to not have to worry about being interrupted for those, because they do have story checkpoints, but the story checkpoints are very few and far between. And I think it's a good idea to allow you to basically be uninterrupted when you do these things. The last Tall Tale, when you go to the Shores of Gold for the Sea of Thieves, like base game, is that way, where you're in a place that you can really only get to while you're on that quest. And so you can like explore that island, like you can do the puzzles, you can, fight the bosses for 2 hours or whatever. You can do all of the things that you need to do and not worry like, oh, is our ship going to be there when we get out of here? Like, I understand, like, if you're just doing like general merchant runs, or if you're just doing like a general, like a treasure vault, something like that, like those are the times when you should absolutely be vulnerable to PvP and that people should be able to come and get you. But like, if I'm doing something that is a story thing for me and my friends to experience as a story, I don't want to get interrupted by people ganking me. Like, that's just not fun.
I like the constant level of fear that Sea of Thieves gives you. I think that like the story content for me is so little about the story and so much about completing a quest that I don't really care about. Like, I don't care if I have to redo it. It's more about doing it successfully for me than it is. It's more about winning, Chris. It's more about winning.
Right, but I can't win if somebody ganks me in the middle of it and I didn't have a checkpoint.
Yes, but the constant fear, the constant like having to scan the horizon, the constant like knowing that at any point someone could decide that they want to end your day, or having to defend yourself, or having to flee and come back later, or whatever it is. I kind of like that a little bit. It's the same thing in Eve. I know we haven't talked about Eve in a while, but like the idea that you're never safe is just so it's amazing how much your heart can start pumping by just clicking the undock button. And I like that feeling in Sea of Thieves as well. But, I'll give it to you. I think this new expansion, or this new content that is coming specifically around Pirates of the Caribbean, I'm not going to complain. I think, that'll be fine that it's in your own instance. I think for people like you, it'll be a really good thing. For me, it won't bother me at all. Like, it's not going to ruin the game because this is a case for me where I will be much more interested in the actual story, the actual, quest content itself, rather than just winning. So this is, I think it was a good. Is it an option, or is it like you will only experience this in an instance?
I believe you can only experience it in an instance.
Okay, I think I think it fits here. I think it's more appropriate here. But with all that being said, they did exactly what we were preaching earlier in the show. It is by the time this episode is released on Thursday, this content is out. It's ready. It's going to be live.
Yes, as you listen to this came out yesterday. So if you are a Sea of Thieves player and you like Pirates of the Caribbean, or even if you don't, this is out. You can go play it.
I was very, very surprised to see the release date. I think I was also very surprised. You and I kind of looked at each other and said, "Oh, this is probably a paid expansion, right? This is something that you're going to have to pay $10 for, or some kind of story pack of some sort." And they announced a release date very, very soon. They announced a free, kind of pack of content, and that was super cool. I was really happy to see that.
I haven't seen anything about this, so I'm really just speculating here. But if they have compelling content, I will buy the Sea of Thieves Battle Pass, Plunder Pass, whatever, Pirate Pass, whatever they call it. I will lay down my $10 to get like a Jack Sparrow hat, if that's what it takes, like to get those cosmetics in Sea of Thieves. I've not bought any of the ones up until now, but I was reading something that said this is the kickoff of season 3, which means they have an opportunity to rework their levels again and choose different ways to do their monetization, which, as I've talked about in the past, I don't think they've done a very good job of enticing me to give them money. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm really hopeful that there's going to be some cool cosmetics that you can only get if you buy the Battle Pass, and then I'll buy the Battle Pass. If they make them free, I'll take that too. But I'm telling Sea of Thieves, you've got 3 days. This is your opportunity. You can put cool stuff in your Battle Pass
and make me earn it.
Oh yeah,
like that's the other thing about the Battle Pass that I really didn't like. Not this isn't a Sea of Thieves episode, but like, if you're going to do a Battle Pass, do it like Rocket League or League of Legends or Dota or literally anyone else that does a Battle Pass, because they've figured it out. The Sea of Thieves Battle Pass was like, yeah, buy the Battle Pass, get these 12 items for free, and then like junk for your 100 levels. And it just didn't encourage me to play the game. So I didn't buy it.
Nope, me neither.
Anyway, we'll be playing Sea of Thieves for this content right after this, episode comes out, and Pirate's Life for me. E3 2021 was a surprise to me, to be sure. I did not see it coming. I did not expect it. There were some really exciting announcements for me. I am happy that we took the time to kind of watch the announcements, to look over the reviews or the post recaps. I'm excited for fourth quarter of 2021 based on what was announced.
I'm also excited for first quarter of 2022 because I'm hoping that all of these 2022 games that didn't have any sort of other release window will magically come out in the spring of 2022.
If we missed your favorite part of E3, please, let us know. We'd love to hear kind of what your thoughts on it was. We'd love to hear what kind of games you're looking forward to, or trailers that we may have missed that I should definitely see, or that Chris should definitely take a look at. You can give us feedback. You can talk to us. You can let us know what you think by joining our Discord channel, which you can get to at discord.pnapodcast.com. That's discord.p-the-letter-n-the-letter-a-podcast.com.
If you'd like to read our show notes or see any of our older episodes, you can listen to them right on the web at our website, which is pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, and the letter A, podcast.com.
If you know anyone that would enjoy this kind of content, about video games or general like PC gaming or things like that, we would really love if you would just share the show with them.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
Have you played more Ratchet & Clank?
Yeah, I've played quite a bit more Ratchet & Clank. I've played probably 4 or 5 hours now total.
I saw the first, 20 minutes of it right before, what was that, pizza night or something?
Yes, I was playing it while you were at my house.
And it looked fine. It definitely looked like, I think I made the comment while I was there. I was like, oh, this is definitely a Chris game.
Oh yeah, it is definitely a Chris game.
So how has it progressed? Has it, I mean, you were still like collecting the base, like weapons and tools when I was there. Like you had just gotten the glove or something.
Yeah. So I had just started. I think now I have the whole kit maybe. So I have these like rocket boots, which are cool. I've got the glove that lets you do the rift grabbing, and I have the boots. I think it's the boots. Maybe it's the glove. I don't know. That lets you slide on these walls. I don't know if you saw the walls, but the walls are really cool where you can slide on the walls. There's a few things that have been kind of challenging, a little puzzly. I've really enjoyed kind of the collectible nature of it, right? There's a bunch of like gold bolts you have to collect, and there's other things, and they have a nice mini map where you can actually mark stuff so that you can go collect it. And there were a couple things where I had to like look at it and look at like, oh, I can see that's the rail that shows me how to get to this thing, but I have no idea where that rail starts, and having to go, walk around and find a place and do that. And that's only for my kind of OCD about collecting stuff. It's not required at all for the story. But so far, the story is pretty good. It's a lot of like back and forth. It's one of these games, kind of like most modern games are, where it just doesn't stop. Like it just keeps going. Like you finish one task and like, okay, well now we have to go to this planet. Let's go. And you're like, okay, well I would like a clear break. Like I need a stopping point. Uncharted is really good about that because while there are no loading screens, they do have chapters, so you can be like, oh, I've reached the next chapter, therefore I can stop.
Oh, I see. There's no like clear like save and be done for the day points.
Exactly. Because there are no save points. Everything is all auto-saved from checkpoints. Like everything is all just like, your game is automatically saving 24/7, so you don't have to ever like manually save and end. So you're not like, oh, once I get to the next save point, I'm going to save and I'm going to quit. It's just like, yeah, whenever you choose, you can just like, okay, I'm going to turn this thing off now. And that's a little bit jarring for someone who's used to, either traditional games or like JRPGs where you have to find a save point.
Yeah, it's almost like a mechanic of the game.
Like, I actually think I looked, and I don't think there is a save button in the menu at all. Like, there is no way to make a manual save because it is auto-saving probably every 30 seconds or less.
Wow.
Because I was playing a little bit with it. It actually has, this is a PS5 exclusive, right? So it actually has a fidelity mode, a performance ray tracing mode, a performance mode. So it has three choices, and the performance ray tracing and the performance modes are both 60 frames per second. And the performance mode is, I think, 4K 60, and the ray tracing one is like adaptive resolution at 60, but with ray tracing turned on. And I actually play with the fidelity mode. But when you switch between them, it tells you like, oh, we're going to take you to the last checkpoint. And you're like, okay, I guess. And it takes you to like basically right where you are. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I didn't lose anything there. But I haven't made up my mind on 60 FPS gaming yet. Maybe we should talk about that another time. But a lot of games now, especially on the PS5, are giving you options for either like the prettiest thing ever or locked 60 frame rate. And I don't know. I'm not sure what I like better.
I like not having to decide.
Well, if you don't decide, you almost always get the fidelity mode, which is good. Like,
yeah, but why not Porque no los dos? PC gaming.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I think that'll come as the generation comes along. But as long as they're making things that are, kind of cross-gen and things that are like they're getting used to the hardware, I don't think it'll come just yet. Yeah, I had a note in our document saying that when Starfield comes out, I will probably have to get a new graphics card because I'm still rocking a 1070, and by that point the 4090s and 5090s, probably because it'll get delayed, will be out, and then I'll just be so far behind. I don't even have an RTX. I can't do ray tracing on my graphics card.
You're not missing anything. I promise you. You're really not.